Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today's session is how to shop for case management software. And I've taught this session a few times, both for bar associations, but then also on behalf of vendors, because there's a process that a lot of attorneys go through that's fairly arduous, and nobody really, helps you navigate the waters of case management. Over the years, there's been so many new solutions, and today's presentation is also based off of a conversation that I had just a few days ago with an attorney who was in the midst of deciding whether or not they were going to leave the solution that they were in, and talked to her quite a bit about how she actually got to that point. To give you a little bit of background on me and the website, LexxTechReview was founded to be a resource for lawyers searching for case management software or a legal technology product. So today is also part of the education that we provide through reviews and webinars, legal tech articles, and then we'll be publishing a buyer's guide in October of this year, so keep an eye out for that. Myself, I've been in the legal technology space for 11 years now as a technology trainer, a CLE speaker, traveling to bar associations all over the country, and then also as a VP of marketing for a software provider, actually bringing products to market. I run development teams, built actual products myself, acted as a product manager, so really have served a lot of different roles in the legal technology space, working one-on-one directly with solo and small law firms. So I'm really passionate about helping them find the technology that works for their law firm and giving them a little bit of guidance during the selection and implementation process. So I know we have quite a diverse crowd. We have consultants and trainers and solo and small firms and possibly a couple providers on today. So thank you all so much for sharing this afternoon with me. We're going to keep it pretty concise. I try to keep these sessions between 30 and 45 minutes. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to enter them into the chat pane, and then I'm also going to leave some time in for Q&A at the end. So the goal is to give you an idea of the practice management or case management landscape. And those two terms, first of all, are pretty interchangeable, and they have just absolutely transformed the industry in the last 10, 20 years. You've seen this massive shift. Before my time specifically in legal, I actually sold services for an IT firm where we would do implementations for law firms and doctors' offices. You would buy 3, 4, 5 servers. You would do, thin client terminals running applications that were hosted on the server. There was hundreds of thousands of dollars involved, and now you can get an entire toolkit for your business for under $100, a month. So we've come a long, long way. And along that time, there's been some ethical changes from what attorneys are actually expected to do. And that's where I want to start today. So case management or legal practice management, the terms are interchangeable, has evolved in the last 10 years very, very rapidly. So it used to be fear the cloud. And I remember when there would be cloud, is the cloud secure, and CLE presentations on how to select the right provider, because we didn't know if they were taking the right security measures or if they were abiding by a certain set of standards and who has access to your data. And today, those things are all happen by default. No one in the industry who is marketing to a product to attorneys is going to have a solution that is not following by those guidelines. There's actually a legal cloud computing association. I was fortunate enough to be part of an organization that was one of the founding members of the Legal Cloud Computing Association, where they discuss, standards and ways that they can make sure that they're keeping up with the latest technology to keep all of that attorney-client information secure and privileged. So that's happening by default today. Employees undergo background checks. There's a approval process for letting them actually access your data. So we've come a long way. But what I want to talk about as far as the actual structure of the law firm that is driving a lot of this change is the fact that there used to be a lot more admins to help with the work. So it was normal for an attorney to have a secretary that would be entering billing information for them, or that would be drafting, you know, the initial set of documents. Things like document automation and assembly were tools that larger firms would invest in because it was able for them to increase their margins and scale across hundreds of employees, or even thousands in some cases. There were also fewer solo attorneys. The economic changes in the U.S. have forced a lot of attorneys to go out and start their own firms that would have gone and looked for a partner or an associate position in a law firm. So now you have more businesses operating independently than ever before. The use of technology is no longer an option, it's a requirement. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Technology CLEs were non-existent, and if they were of lower priority or only being taught to the IT personnel of those mid-sized to large firms. And cybersecurity was a concern of those larger firms because the amount of data and technology that they had. So it was more of a mid-sized to large firm investment. And now with the market shifting and there being so many solo and small firm practitioners that don't have admins, that are running their business themselves, that are essentially entrepreneurs, there has been an increased demand and also an increased use of technology to run a law firm is as if it were, you know, a regular business. So software is a business requirement, and the ethical obligation to learn technology. These two things are driven by the fact that consumers have learned to access attorneys and to work with attorneys through finding them on the internet, or looking up prices and doing price comparison on what they think that they should pay for a particular fee or a particular case type. So it has forced attorneys to deliver services at a lower cost. The saturation of solo practitioners in the marketplace has also led to more competitive pricing. So you're not seeing attorneys oftentimes raise their fees, but they have to find a way to keep their costs down. So software is a business requirement from a profitability perspective. And then the other component to that is that it is also now an ethical obligation. So the American Bar Association and consequently state bar associations have issued formal opinions saying that it is your duty to take reasonable care to educate yourself and to protect your client privileged, attorney-client privileged information, documents, personal information, so on and so forth, as a requirement of practicing, which is now we see states like Florida actually offering and requiring CLE in the technology area. You have to have a certain amount of technology credits, and those classes are now being offered. And I hope that we see that domino across the rest of the states. Why? Because we have increased cybersecurity risks. And those cybersecurity risks are very real. This is a timeline of technology and ethical issues. So in 2008 is really when we saw a massive groundswell of cloud providers start to take hold. Specifically, Clio and Rocket Matter launched at the same time. I was actually there for that at ABA Tech Show in Chicago. It was a really, really exciting time because if you've ever been to one of the larger technology expos, it can be an experience in the sense that you have hundreds of providers all there, most of which at the time were selling server-based products, almost all of which at the time were selling server-based products. Massive document management solutions, case management software that was, requiring tens of thousands of dollars in an investment just to get it started, implementation teams, trainers, so on and so forth. It was a very, very big purchase for a law firm, and you had to have a good amount of revenue to be able to do that. And here comes the cloud providers with a per user per month price, hosted in the cloud, run your business off your laptop. It was shocking in a lot of ways. And what had happened between then and 2013 is that they really started to take hold and gain market share. So hundreds of thousands of users flocking to different providers, massive amounts of signups. This was a great time to start a practice management software that was based in the cloud, because you were actually able to drive traffic from the web. You would able to advertise online and actually have them go all the way through and purchase, watch a demo or book a demo with you and purchase. And now, digital advertising between providers has become very, very competitive because there's so many solutions out there. So you see a ton of adoption, a ton of growth in this space. And then I did want to highlight that in 2013 something happened, something really important happened. The Target data breach occurred, where, if you remember, this was one of the largest public breaches of personal information in the retail space. And I use this as an example because attorneys and consumers, solo attorneys, small firm attorneys, and consumers have similar buying patterns. And this was really where we had all kind of started to invest in the cloud. Everybody had a Gmail address, or some type of, was using some type of application. The iPhones, we all pretty much moved to iPhones or Android, so everybody has a smartphone. People are, putting all this information in apps, and then this massive data breach happens. And it was a wake-up call to a lot of people, and as attorneys were moving client records into the cloud, there also was the start of formal opinions, and even before this, lots of formal opinions around when are attorneys going to be required to actually learn technology and secure client records. Because at the end of the day, if client records are located on a server in your office in a closet that's not locked, or under a desk somewhere, or you're using your personal machine for everything client related, and something were to happen, what is the liability associated with that, and what is your ethical duty to educate yourself on what is available to you so that that doesn't happen. And we also started to see increased use of client portals. So at the time, not everybody had a client portal. Today, when you're looking at case management or practice management software, it's become a checkbox. It's just kind of like automatically there. Do you have a client portal? Yes. Now, what I will say about client portals, and I'll go into this again later on in the presentation, is that client portals are suitable and widely used with particular types of clients and particular types of cases or practice areas. So I'm going to get into that in a little bit. The 2013 kind of line in the sand is that it became part of the discussion of moving client communication into a secure client portal to protect those conversations, to get them out of email. Can data be captured from email? What are what's the liability around communication itself, and what are we transmitting in email? Oftentimes you'll hear technology speakers say that email is no better than a postcard written in pencil. And there's a little bit of truth to that, if not a lot of truth to that. And moving those communications into something that is secured, something that is backed up throughout the day, became a larger part of the communication and almost a requirement for providers. And then 2017, now we're seeing massive outbreaks of malware and ransomware. In the last 2 months, have seen 5 different firms within my, just immediate circle suffer from ransomware attacks to the tune of $30,000, $20,000. And it's really unfortunate when this occurs, because anything that you have locally on your computer, is at risk. And by using a case management or a legal practice management platform, you're mitigating that risk. You're putting it into a tool that is managed and backed by oftentimes millions of dollars of technology, research, investment, security, multiple data centers, redundancy, continuous backups throughout the day. And, it's not just loss of data and loss of income. It's loss of reputation, which can oftentimes be so much more damaging than the dollar amount itself. So if you were to have to go back to your clients and say, we've had this incident, just go back in time to that Target, the day of the data breach with Target, of having to contact your customers and say, hey, this information may have been compromised. Your financial statements, your mortgage documents, your children's birthdays and personal information. We may have identity theft issues if you're an estate planning attorney and you've had, family records for every single family record, social security numbers, or, a IP patent trademark office that handles patents that haven't been approved yet. I mean, we're talking about massive amounts of personal and intellectual property that could be compromised. Having to have that conversation, and especially for solo and small firms who get so much of their business through referrals or word of mouth, that incident could be more damaging than any amount of money that they would charge you, and you don't always get the files back. So something to just be mindful of, that we're in a different time now, that it's no longer an if, but a when, and how are you going to protect yourself? And that's really what I wanted to convey with this portion of today's presentation, is that having a legal case management or practice management platform isn't just about productivity and efficiency and all of the wonderful things that it does, which they do amazing things and do backflips and make your clients happy and all of that. But it's also at a more serious level, protecting your business, protecting your livelihood, and protecting the clients that trust you and pay you. So that's really what I wanted to share with this particular slide. So just to put it in perspective, if you haven't been to Law Sites by Bob Ambrogi, he writes an incredible blog. He's always breaking news first in the legal tech community and in the legal community in general. This is a screenshot from his website. He has a running log of all of the legal tech startups, and there are 647 listings. So just to kind of show you the growth that we've seen in this space for the last, 10, 15 years, this has all happened within that time. If you would have said to any of us, 10, 15 years ago, do you think there's going to be, hundreds of providers entering this space, on almost what it feels like there's 5 every week almost. I don't know that any of us would have been able to predict like this amount of innovation, and it's a very, very exciting time, but it's also very daunting and overwhelming. So navigating this landscape, knowing what's right for you, is what we're going to get into next. So let's start there. So if I am a managing partner, or if I'm a staff person in a law firm who has been tasked with the process of finding a case management or practice management software, where do you even start? And so I want to begin today by telling you a story about the attorney who I spoke to just a couple days ago, actually, who I really dug into why she ended up picking the solution that she had and why she was considering a change. And I'm speaking to this attorney, and you can tell that she knows how to run her business, she knows how to get clients, she knows what she needs to do, and she explained to me that it's really frustrating for law firms and attorneys to begin the selection process with a case or a practice management software, because the time invested in setting up a sample case, and it gave me the thought for any providers that are on the phone or listening today with us, to provide them with some type of sample case information. I wish I would have thought of this while I was still with a provider, because they start populating the software, And it doesn't matter, who you choose. Almost everybody has a trial, and if they don't, there's a good reason for that, which I'll also touch on. They start inputting things into the software. And whether it's an active case that they have or an old case that they're using or a fictitious case, the goal is to get a feel for it, to feel what it's like to enter a contact, to feel what it's like to enter a matter, to really try and find out if this is going to be a fit for you. And the clock is ticking. So you have 7 days, maybe you have a month, maybe it's an extended trial because you didn't have a chance to tackle it for the first couple weeks and they graciously extended it for you. Whatever the situation might be, it's a time investment. And what I found in my discussion with her was that she ended up choosing a solution because she just didn't have the time to go and enter the same information into 5 different places. So the initial trial that they start is not always the one that's going to be the best fit for them because they just physically don't have the time to go and test it out. And so if I were back in a provider's, if I were working for a provider again, one thing that I would do for our prospects is provide them with a sample case and say, go, enter it into another application and run them side by side. Because just coming up with that data or coming up with a case that you actually have to physically enter, or if you could even pre-populate that information into an application, it would be massively helpful. And do you lose a little bit of the usability of them physically entering something? Possibly, but it allows them to see what an active account would look like without having to build that library themselves. And she said that that was really one of the reasons why she ended up choosing something, and she'd been using it for a couple months and found out that it wasn't the solution for her, that it didn't do the things that she needed, but that she went with that original application because she felt like, I don't have time to go to this next one and just enter all of these things in. So the moral of this story is to actually go through an assessment before you pick and begin a trial, to go through a self-assessment, a needs assessment of how you work, of the type of clients and cases that you handle, how your clients interact with you. And we're going to go through that with a series of questions right here. So what is my day like? When I start my day, am I working off of a list of tasks, or am I opening up my calendar and that's how I'm going to start my day? Am I being driven by deadlines that are related to statutes or filings or objections or settlements or anything? Who dictates my time? What dictates my time? And is there an application that speaks to that specific task, that speaks to that specific way of working? And there are so many out there. I think that you'll be surprised that a lot of them actually do. Whether it's a timeline for personal injury related to settlements and offers and demands, or a calendar or a task-centric view in an application. And that's these are a lot of the reasons why the reviews on LexxTechReview are written in the way that they are. It's to try and help you match what the application is that's going to fit how you work, of what your day is actually like. So what is your day like? When you wake up, what do you look at first? Do you open your email? Do you open a document? Do you open your calendar? Do you have to figure out where you need to be? Are you in the car most of the day? What is your day actually like? Because nobody's going to know that with you. And an ad that you're presented on Google or in your email or anything else isn't going to know what you're actually, where you're opening it, why you're opening it, what the email was that you got before or the email after. Next, how do you bill? Are you a transactional firm? Do you bill on contingency? Do you process a ton of retainers that go into IOLTA, where you're going to need to draw against those over the course of delivering services. How is it, what is it, the process that you bill? Because time and billing is one of the most important parts of delivery. If you're not getting paid and you don't have an application that helps you do that in the most efficient way possible, we're going to run into cash flow issues, which are a massive, massive Achilles heel for the solo and small firms. What programs do I use most during the day? So I was fortunate during my time at Smokeball. One of the things I loved about that product was that they integrated so well with Microsoft Outlook and Word. Now, running on a PC, that means that not everybody can use it. But if you were a Microsoft Word and Outlook user that wanted hardcore document automation and the ability to create very specific things for different practice areas, that would be a great solution for you. But if you're in the car and you want to run your law firm off an iPad and you want to build time from your phone and you just want everything in the cloud and document automation doesn't matter to you, then there's another solution that might make you happier. So taking the time to really understand what programs do you use most during the day. If it's your calendar and your billing tool, then look for a solution that's strong in those two areas specifically, that just like rocks it in those two areas, and it's going to make you much happier than a ton of bells and whistles that you're probably not ever going to use. So what didn't I like about the software I used before? I always say that one of the biggest competitors in this space is the legal pad. And I did not make that up. That's been said by a lot of people a lot of times. So it's continuing to do things the way that you always have, which is also one of the most dangerous quotes in business. I also did not make that up either. Continuing to do things the way that you always have is dangerous because it means you're not innovating. And if you're not innovating, then your practice is going to stagnate at some point. That's just a fact. Using Excel documents, using the same, starting everything from scratch every single time, that will catch up to you at some point, just because the pace and the motion of the way that the legal marketplace and the way that we interact with consumers is going. There has to be innovation, or businesses are going to start to suffer who don't participate in that. So what didn't I like about the software I used before? If you came from a big firm or you were with a firm and broke off on your own, what didn't you like about it? What was the area that really you just hated and it was part of your job every day and it's still part of your daily duties now and you just can't stand it? You should not repeat that in the next application that you choose. And then, could this replace anything I'm paying for now? So we are in this really special time. We're in this really, really special, almost golden age of technology where you can connect so many different applications, and there are so many all-in-one solutions where you no longer have to have 5, 6, 7, 8 applications to run a business. You can actually scale back and integrate 2, 3, 4 tools and have them all talk to each other and trim down your costs, or end up around the same but have everything speaking to one another, so saving you time, saving you double entry. There's a lot of QuickBooks integrations out there now, which is a good example. There's a lot of Ruby Receptionist or call services, call recording services that you can integrate in various ways to capture phone information and time and have that all feed into the client or matter record. So could this replace anything I'm paying for now? Could we eliminate a tool? I have been in law firms where you have been, where there's been 4 or 5 times the data entry. So we take a client intake form and we enter it here. Then we go over here and enter it here. Then we go over here and enter it. And it's just so much manpower that could be spent on delivering a better level of client service, or just being more efficient and increasing profit margins. And then who else is going to use it with me? Employees and clients. You should not make a decision about case management or legal practice management software without vetting it with your employees first without considering your clients and how they will work with you. And we can actually capitalize on using a client portal as a marketing message, which I'm going to get into as a benefit later on in today's presentation. And then would my clients benefit from portal features? So that same comment I made earlier about, are your clients the type of clients that are going to use this? And I would just put yourself in their shoes. I will tell you right now, text messaging is slowly becoming the new email. People do not want to get on the phone. If I were personally going through a divorce or a bankruptcy, is that a phone call that I'm going to want to take in the middle of the day, in the middle of my office or at work? No, but if I have an app on my phone or I can log into a client portal, I can probably answer some questions and upload a document or take a picture of something and send it to you. You have to accommodate and offer ways that make the client more comfortable, or there's not going to be a whole lot of reasons for them to continue to work with you. And they've got a lot of options. So unless you're knocking it out of the park, or this is like a multi-generational relationship that you've had, that because your parents own the law firm or a parent owned the law firm and then your grandparent owned the law firm, and it's like generational clients of the firm, consumers are more and more fickle. If they're not getting the answers or the responses that they want from you, or you don't build that relationship in a way that feels comfortable and easy and convenient for them, they will look for other options. So that is the needs assessment. I will make a copy of this presentation available online. If these questions would be helpful for you, feel free to grab them. Next is vet the vendor. So as you're speaking, I'm only going to talk about this for a couple minutes because we're kind of all at the place where this stuff is like standard now. We're past the point where you really have to worry about anything. Even with the brand new providers that have been on the market for 5 minutes, everybody knows what the rules are. Everybody knows what the rules are. They know that they have to have, a certain tier level with their data center. They have to offer encryption. They have to have all of these tools in place, or they won't even survive in the market. So a lot of people will ask me, oh, they've only been around for so long. But technology has evolved to the point where if I personally wanted to go out and start a software company tomorrow, there are packages available that come standard with security and malware scans and, all the bells and whistles you could ever imagine, managed in some Fort Knox style data center with geo redundancy in 4 locations, where if I have the money to pay for it, I can start a software business in a week and hit every single point on this checklist. So service level agreement is something that you can ask your provider about, of just, if there's like, how often have they been down? If you're considering a cloud computing service, that's something that I would ask, because one thing about the cloud, if your personal internet goes down, you're out of luck. You're driving to a Starbucks, or you're just gonna do something else that day that's local, like draft documents. That's just the way that works. I would ask for, some of the providers even have like an uptime monitor where, and this is the reason why they have redundant servers, fallback data centers, where if something fails in one, they switch everything over to the other. And it's pretty seamless, and it happens almost instantaneously, and it's being monitored 24 hours a day. Having run an IT company, that stuff is just standard. It's the way that things are built. So when I was at the Chicago Bar Association, there was this amazing resource Catherine Sanders recreated. A link to her presentation is here. It includes a full write-up on cloud tech and her CLE materials. She's an amazing technology speaker and expert in the field, so I would encourage you to follow her. And then also, just check out these questions. It's not really anything that you need to worry about, more of just kind of anybody in the space has to be able to answer these. And we're well past that as far as on the timeline is concerned. Everybody knows what they need to be doing and work very hard to uphold that and continue to innovate to make sure that they're on the bleeding edge of security. Next, Types of applications. So I want to talk about this for just a second. There are still hybrids for good reason. So there's pure cloud, so it runs in your browser. You're always going to access it from your browser. You have to have reliable internet, and they have awesome mobile apps to accompany. Then you have some that are installing an agent on your machine, or that have some type of local service, or actually a full application running on your local computer. There are advantages to this. There's advantages if you're doing very advanced document automation or assembly. Integration with Office products locally, so with things that are built into Outlook or built into Microsoft Word, or that are collecting information. We're about to publish a review on Metager, which is a supplement to a document management solution where there's a little agent, like a little robot, that runs around your computer and finds all the files that you forget to save to your document management system and indexes them, so that everyone in the firm, you never have to worry about lost documents, and there's all this data that's being captured that actually saves people a ton of time, because we don't all have admins that can just like do filing for us all day long. So there's still solutions where having something installed locally on your computer is valuable. And then there's also firms that, due to IT requirements, whether that's HIPAA compliance, or they're a mid-sized firm where they want everything managed by their IT team in their data center, or they deal with mergers and acquisitions, or they need to have, you know, a clean room for some of the data that's coming in and out in these massive, you know, multi-million or billion-dollar deals. They may have special IT requirements that still require that to live inside of their technology environment and be managed by their team. So there are still reasons why those solutions exist, and those solutions are also still very good at what they do. Feature comparisons and trials. So the way that I personally write legal technology reviews is to share, if you are this type of attorney and this is the type of work that you do, this is a solution that can help you achieve your goals, make more money, improve client service, so on and so forth. Not everything is apples to apples. So you have market leaders, but then you also have very niche case management or practice management providers where you only do one type of case, and you don't need all the bells and whistles, and you don't need to be able to serve 7 different practice areas. That niche case management platform might be a better fit for you. So not everything is an apples-to-apples comparison. You shouldn't necessarily make it a quick decision and go buy the market leader because they're the market leader. You should buy it because you're going to use it. I'm going to say that again. You should buy it because you are going to use it. You can spend all the money in the world on technology, but if you don't properly train yourself to make the most out of that investment and pick a solution that applies to the type of business that you do, it's worthless. You might as well light the money on fire. So enter the same case into each trial account to see what works best for you. This is my suggestion for anyone going through a software trial, is to take the exact same case, task someone on your team if you don't have time to do it, give them the login information for the trials. Obviously, you're going to change that. I'm not saying give your passwords out. You shouldn't be using the same passwords for everything. But, you know, maybe create a firm account in the trial and have everyone in the firm enter the same type of case, or have each person in the firm enter what they would be working on. Maybe the paralegals are required to go and add notes to a case. So you start one case in product number 1. You start the same case, same information in product number 2. You start the same case, same information in product number 3. And then each role in the firm is required to do one thing, maybe 2 things, maybe 3 things. It depends on the type of firm that you have. It depends on how much of your daily tasks are delegated, how much, you know, what portions of the firm other people are responsible for. Do not try everything at once, 1 to 2 per week. And what we're looking for here is we're looking for usability, how it feels. Will your staff buy into it? Because I will tell you the number of times that I have walked into a firm where the managing partner bought a solution and then said, okay, I'm done, everybody use this, and they hated me for being the trainer that was coming in and forcing them to learn something new. Countless times. So I've been on the other side of that. Involve them. Because if they don't use it, if you do not have their buy-in, they're going to come up with a million things that you have never thought of. Paralegals, I oftentimes think of them very much in the same role as like nurses to doctors. Like doctors are the experts, the specialists, and the nurses are the ones interfacing with the patient, interfacing with the client, triaging the situation, entering the information. So there's a very symbiotic relationship between those two roles, but they're going to use the software in a completely different way than you will, and you have to get their feedback, because guess what? If it makes their life harder, then you've actually cost yourself 2 or 3 times what you're paying for the software, because they're going to take longer to do their job, and they're going to be frustrated, and they're going to be mad at you because you're forcing them to do it. So get their buy-in, usability, how it feels. The reason why I say take the same sample case and enter it into each of the software platforms is because you're establishing a control test. You're establishing a test, and think about things like number of clicks. How many screens do I have to go through to get to where I need to go, to complete a task, to generate a document, to record a note, to record a phone call? And what do you spend most of your time doing throughout the day? This goes back to the assessment that we talked about at the beginning of this session. Do the assessment. If you spend a majority of your day at court on the phone and you need to record time faster than you ever have before, then that should be the feature that you're testing with the same information over and over again in each of these trials. And then lastly, apps. Something that a lot of providers actually don't show you in the demo. I've been meaning to write something about this, but the app is something where, especially if you do things like bankruptcy law, or now there's like a lot of attorneys that are starting to do mobile divorce consultations, you're going to be entering stuff on the go. You're at the courthouse, so test the app too with that same case information. Test what it's like, to start a call at your office and to take it in the car and then get to where you need to go and record that information. Don't test these out while you're driving, please. So think about that, because the app is also an extension. And I have talked to quite a few attorneys who said, oh, I bought this and the demo was great, and then we started using the app and the app is awful. Right? So the one thing that they find they're actually going to use more than anything else, they can't stand, and now they're stuck, because they've migrated all of this information over. So something to think about that is not really discussed a whole lot on the demo. Apps are often an afterthought. Matter management. So now we're going to get into the core features of a lot of the providers that you'll see out there. Matter management comes down to how it's actually laid out. So matter management, case management, 2 interchangeable terms. Standard versus custom fields. Document storage and management, those are 2 different things. So standard and custom fields, let's start to break that down. Standard fields is I open up a new matter, who's the client, are they plaintiff, or are they the defendant? Are there parties? Are there is there a spouse? Who's involved in this case? What are the addresses? What are the general information? Some platforms will actually allow you to record jurisdiction or location if there's a judge. It depends on what layer of detail you're looking for and whether the practice management provides that standard, or you have to add custom fields. So if the standard fields don't cover the information that you need to execute that case, and by execute I mean you should be recording everything in your case management software that you need to generate any document, file, anything that is associated with this particular case type for the duration of the actual case preparation and execution, all the way to close. Everything should be able to be recorded in a field or somewhere inside the software. Custom fields bridge the gap between that level of specific information and what comes standard. I will tell you right now, there is nothing out there that is absolutely perfect. The closest thing I've seen to perfect is the, I do this one very specific type of case management platform, and if you only do that one type of very, very specific one type of case, then you're going to use that, and it's not going to do anything else for you. So, don't expect to like start a new practice area and be able to move over there. That's the closest thing that I've seen. It's just not possible or smart for the providers to really be the end-all, be-all, out-of-the-box, read your mind, know everything that you want, and build it into the software. Because what would happen if they did, you would never be able to find anything, because you'd be sifting through filters for all these things that you don't need in the fields. So that's matter management. Look for something that gets close to your definition of perfect, where you log in and you're like, oh, this feels like it was made for me. Your staff should say, this feels like it's made for what we do, for what I do on a daily basis. Document storage and management. So two different things. Document storage is the ability to use it like a storage device. So I upload documents, I can rename them. It's a file storage location. Document management gives you advanced features where if I touch it, it's going to create a new version. If somebody else touches it, it's going to record who, what, when, and timestamp it. Those are the two different levels. You also see integrations in this area, document storage and document management. Practice management providers will oftentimes offer lower level document storage with those, naming options, with the ability to attach documents to a case or a client record, and integration with something like Box.com or Dropbox or Google Drive, or which I hope nobody's using Google Drive for sensitive client information. But the ability to connect that document storage so that you have everything in one place. Document management is for those higher level features, advanced features. Next is document assembly. So if you have all those custom fields, if you're using a practice management specific tool, being able to take that information and merge it into documents. And there's two different layers of document, or levels, tiers of document assembly and document automation. The simple tier, or the first one, is the ability to take that client information and generate a letter. Right? Standard letter, standard formatting. To take that client information and create a status letter or notification, or populate a document that you have uploaded and inserted fields into. Hardcore document automation is taking custom fields, clauses, if-then-else statements, really, really complex information, and generating entire pieces of work product. So I'll say that again. Document assembly is simple merging of fields into relatively straightforward documents, or document automation is complex custom fields, custom clauses, custom paragraphs. If I answer that they have 3 kids, I need you to go change everything in this document to be plural type of thing. So those are the two layers. They often get confused. You should also have a place for staff notes, for tasks, to-dos, and deadlines, which now almost every provider has automated task lists. So every time I open a family law case, I want these 5 tasks to be added. Every time I open a bankruptcy case, I want these 10 things to be added. So you can start to speed up the process, and you don't have to create the same to-do list over and over again. It also makes sure that you're not missing anything. Upcoming events and calendar appointments. Calendar is one of the hardest areas in a case management software to make users happy, to keep attorneys happy. And I know, because I have been an employee of 2 providers during the time in development where we were trying to accomplish this. There is nothing that you can touch in an attorney's calendar that you aren't going to hear something about. So they work really, really hard on these 2 areas. What you're looking for as far as calendar is concerned is bi-directional sync. And then you get into, well, how do I make an event private? And I don't want my kid's birthday party on the firm calendar. And I mean, like any use case that you could possibly think of, they're going to hear about it. So calendar is something where if calendar dictates your life, that's an area where you want to dig in a little bit deeper. Next, communication integrations. So as I discussed in the area of breaches and ransomware and malware and these horrible things that can happen, we're seeing the need for encrypted email or encrypted communication. So there is a push to bring client communication into the client portals, into emails, into the case management system. One, for a recording perspective, so that, you know, my thing about having emails inside of the case record is that you have a 360-degree view of everything that's ever happened with that client, right? So it's a really important part of that relationship, of all those discussions. What happens if you have an associate that, you know, is on maternity leave or has a family member get sick or defects from the firm? You're going to want to see all those emails. A paralegal is going to be able to do their job a million times better if they can actually reference a conversation that you had and answer a question. We also see advanced integrations with some of the providers, recording Ruby receptionist calls in the application, which includes a timestamp of what was said, or I'm sorry, the time of the call, how long it took in case you want to bill for that call, or just account for how many calls actually happened over the course of a month in their invoice. And then the option to actually have it tied directly into your email, where you're sending email from the platform itself, where you can create groups with certain client names. If there's multiple parties on a case, you can email them all together directly from the software without having to leave. So communication integrations beyond just the client portal. Document assembly and automation. So covered a little bit about this before, but this is an area where, you know, I have had the privilege of working with document assembly providers since the early days when no one was in the solo small firm space was using it. And it's come a long way, specifically because if attorneys do not take advantage of this technology to trim margins and increase efficiency, also decrease errors, by the way, they're going to start to run into some problems. Like, you're going to have to find ways to innovate in your practice. And by templating out your letters, templating out your emails, appointment reminders, standard contracts, retainer agreements, there's so many things that attorneys repeat. And the number of times that I have heard, well, it's easier for me to just go back to that Word document and switch something out. How much time does that take you? Find and replace can still miss certain things. Wouldn't it be better to start with a blank document, a blank template? And Baron Henley of Affinity Consulting gave me, you know, a great example of how document assembly can be used. Sometimes it's not something that you even need to use inside of your case management or practice management platform. Starting to use document assembly could be as simple as making Word templates, Microsoft Word templates. So, you know that that is also an option for you. You don't have to buy a full-blown document automation system. Questions to ask the provider in this area are, am I responsible for the setup? Do I have to take all of my forms and automate them myself? Do you come with a library? Do you have my local court forms? What are my options there? And I'll go into some add-on tools that actually offer this as a layer on top of a case management platform. Time and billing. So this is a complex area, and this was actually the attorney that I started our presentation with her story. This was the reason why she was considering making a change, because she was focusing on testing whether or not she could get a matter into the application, not how she would actually bill it. And then when she went to bill, she found out that she needed to do things like really unique tax and interest, and applying interest to clients who pay late. And the reason why she doesn't enforce that is because it's a pain for her. So in the time and billing realm, looking for things that will actually help you run a better business. So if your clients are habitually late, having a piece of software that tracks interest and continues to add it to invoices so that they can see that there's a penalty, right? Like you get a late fee paying a credit card statement or on, you know, your mortgage or something, you're going to make sure that that never happens again, right? It's like a slap on the hand. But if you don't do that for your clients because the software doesn't make it easy for you to do it or just does it automatically without you even having to think about it, like, hey, this bill hasn't been paid, I'm just going to automatically add this late fee or this late charge, the chances are that you're going to make time to actually enforce that is very slim. So looking for things that will actually help you run a better business is what I encourage in the area of time and billing. Also thinking about things like ease of use recording phone calls. Are you billing flat fee? Do you give discounts, tiered rates? There are some really great trainers and billing service providers in the space that help you do bookkeeping and accounting and bill your clients, log into your software and actually help you create your bills. Beyond Square One is one of them. Kahuna Accounting is another. And, you know, they encourage you to set up tiered rates because it creates a clearer statement for the law firms. It creates a better experience for the client so that they could see that they're paying $50 or they're paying $100 an hour for an admin, but they're paying $350 for an attorney. And they pay those bills faster, or there's less collections associated with them, there's less discrepancies, instead of just saying, oh yeah, I mean, I guess I should have broken that out, so I'm just going to give you a discount. And then you don't remember what the discount's for, and you get into the habit of some pretty negative billing practices. So looking at more patterns in your business that you can improve with certain time and billing features as opposed to just, can I issue invoices? Yes, okay, everybody's going to hit that checkbox. And then the ability to do online bill pay. So most organizations integrate with LawPay. Some have built in their own tools, which is really nice because it's a seamless experience. So at the end of the day, you have to offer online bill payment. It's just become, you know, something that's really, really standard. I can't even remember the last time that I wrote a check for something. Or like, think about it, like, when have you gone to the grocery store and watched somebody pull out a checkbook? It just doesn't happen. And we're starting to see the same thing with cash. People just don't carry it. So, you know, unless you're in a practice area like, you know, criminal defense or, you know, some of the other transactional practice areas where you get paid pretty immediately. Sometimes bankruptcy is one where there's a unique billing situation there. Look for solutions where you're going to get that all-in-one connection, where it's going to connect with your accounting software such as QuickBooks. You're going to be able to do online payment processing. If it's going to help you get paid faster or take some of that headache out of actually, you know, the getting paid process. Lastly, client portals. So 24/7 access to case files and documents. I would think about the number, first of all, take a step back. Are your clients the type of clients that are going to use a client portal with you? Okay, and if they are, then how can you give them the best experience possible? Are they going to want to upload documents or are they going to want to message you? You're also capitalizing on the fact that now all that communication is in the same place. So you can look at the communication string. If there was ever a fee dispute, talking about a fee in a client portal, using it as a marketing tool on your website to go ahead and work with you online. You can also implement a client portal in your practice and use this as an opportunity to generate referrals by sending out a marketing message that says, hey, we're so excited, we're going to be extending services online, you can access us here, and by the way, we're going to be updating all of your information, so can you please get in touch with us and make sure that we have the accurate address, the accurate phone number, and when you get on the phone with them, oh, by the way, hi, is there anything that you have going on? What about any of your friends? I guarantee you that if you were to send out a message about launching a client portal or extending your service offering online to anyone who has ever worked with you or even had a meeting and didn't work with you, I would almost guarantee that you're going to see referral business or new business come from that exercise. So use the client portal as an opportunity to market your services. So let's get into what your options are to wrap up the hour. All-in-one solutions. So these are a few that are available to you. By no means is this a comprehensive list. So all-in-one solutions, like think about this like your all-in-one like printer, scanner, fax from way back, not so way back. But these are solutions that hit all of those check boxes. So they're going to be able to do your time and billing, to do your management, matter management, to have a client portal. They're also going to have some level of document assembly or document automation. They're going to have those client service tools. Some have payment processing. So there's, look at these as your, options as far as, what's available. Next, specialty solutions. So you've got quite a few that are case specific. So next chapter, best case, bankruptcy. Case peer and case fleet, medical malpractice, personal injury, trial litigation. FileVine, also in that trial, personal injury, trauma injury space. These specialty solutions are great when you focus on one particular area of law. So you don't think that you necessarily have to go with one of the major providers. If you only do one case type, there's probably a solution out there. And this is not a complete list. I don't want anybody on the watching today to think that this is a complete list. It literally grows on almost a weekly basis. And then add-on tools. So of the ones that we just talked about, or of the providers in the marketplace, you can also use integrations through Zapier or direct integrations. Like LexxTechReview is a CRM that handles working the leads that come in, working the prospects, turning the prospects into clients. And you do that inside LexxTechReview, and then they move into your case management system for delivery. Ruby Receptionist, can I bring my phone calls or can I extend those phone messages into the application? Direct Law, can I sell documents online? Can I sell attorney review, and then when they become a client of full service representation, move them into my case management software? And then Zapier is like a in-between. So I would ask if the provider has an API where you can use Zapier essentially as a bridge. It's literally like a bridge over a river that connects one side to the other so that they talk. So you can bring information from one tool into another through Zapier, which if you're, that's kind of in the I want to make my own adventure technology space, as I like to call it, where I'm going to connect 5 or 6 different things to get that end result. So that wraps up our presentation for today. We did go a full hour, so thank you to everybody who spent this afternoon with me. I really enjoyed speaking with everybody today. This is my contact information and the website. Feel free to reach out to me if you have a question about a particular platform, if you are interested in checking something out and just want to know my opinion. We're constantly publishing reviews. Always check back on the site and sign up for our weekly digest so that you get a update on everything new that is coming out, and updates from providers too on new features that they release, and exciting new products that are entering the space. Thank you all so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. I will be sharing a copy of this presentation on the website within the next week. I hope that everybody has a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you online again soon. Have a great one.